And we are live. Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Gaming Perspective podcast. And it is another day. It is another Saturday. And we are here and ready to talk all things video games and all things related. So first, I will do the introductions of the people that will be joining us tonight. As always, from Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey, it is good to be back. We took an impromptu week off, and so we got a lot of ground to make up, to say the least.
Absolutely. And also introducing from lordsofgaming.net, the grounded guru himself, Mr. Jared Eden.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I guess you could definitely call me that now. Yeah. Well, we had some interesting things to talk about. Definitely a little bit to catch up on. So, yeah, let's get her talking.
Absolutely. And also introducing from sunny Florida and also a member of the Basement Radio Arcade podcast and the man who is creating some of the best art I have seen lately, Mr. Eric Jackson.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you saying that. I'm trying to get my feet wet again, man. Get knock the rust off and start making a go of this thing. But yeah, good to be here, man. Missed you guys last week. And it's good to have the outlet for a little while.
Absolutely. And also worth noting, too, that if that's the art you create when you're rusty, I cannot wait to see what you get a couple of months down the line.
Thanks, man.
And, of course, I'm Nicholas Downey, and you can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. And Grand Guru, the Shrunken Shrine Keeper. Is that a short joke? So we're going to kick off the podcast a little bit differently. So as a few people, well, basically, if you've been on social media in the past 24 hours, Chadwick Boseman, if I butcher his last name, I apologize, passed away yesterday night due to complications from stage 4 colon cancer. Apparently, he had been suffering from this for just a little bit over 4 years, and he finally lost his battle to it yesterday. I don't really have a lot to say that's meaningful that other people haven't said a million times, but it's really a shame. It's always a shame when you lose someone, but it's always a bigger shame when it's someone that has such a bright light. And when I say that is, I mean, like when I originally got my introduction to him through Black Panther, obviously, and I've seen him in other films since then, is he came across as one of those actors that could have been like generationally remembered. And I think he will be for the work he's done over the past few years. He has done phenomenal work. And he's just such a talent and such a positive light. And it really speaks volumes about someone is when someone passes away and all you hear is positive things and people sharing their experiences and memories with someone. It just really strikes, how much that person meant to everyone, whether it was through Black Panther or his other films or his charity work or anything like that. It speaks volumes. Anyone else other than me, please?
Basically, same sentiment from me. My introduction for him was definitely through Black Panther as well, and it ended up being one of my absolute favorite Marvel movies next to Doctor Strange, which is surprisingly, comparatively to lots of other people, it's like, really? Those two choices? Yeah, those are two of my favorites. Black Panther's number 1, then Doctor Strange number 2. But he just, like Nick said, just came across as one of those actors that just seemed like had a very pure heart and just a very kind, pure person. And you couldn't tell he was struggling because he wouldn't be willing to show that. He always wanted to be strong, but I got to respect him for that. So it's definitely a major loss, and it sucks. It's sad. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. For somebody relatively with a relatively short resume in Hollywood, I mean, the impact of film that he actually did, I would recommend people just go back and check out some other films. Like 42. I think it was what was this?
The Five Bloods. It's another one.
Yeah, that's one of his more recent ones. And he did like the Medgar Evers story. I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it actually, but but yeah, I mean, I definitely know more people know him from doing Black Panther, and I just have to say, growing up, reading comics, knowing a Black Panther, he was popular, but he wasn't like what you would consider like the A squad, A list, character, right?
Yeah.
And there had always been this thing of, trying to do a Black Panther movie. And then at one point, Wesley Snipes was attached to that years ago, and it just kind of never came to fruition. So when that finally happened, that was just like, whoa. And I remember the feeling I got when he showed up on the screen for the first time in, was it Winter Soldier? That was his first
Civil War. It was Civil War.
Was it Civil War?
Yeah.
Oh, Civil War then. Okay, so yeah. But yeah, it was just like, it was insane seeing him, and then I'm like, wow, like there's Black Panther. It was over the moon when his feature film came out.
Yeah.
And seeing this portrayal of, this squad and this portrayal of Black actors and this world that's created around it, and it was just like a beautiful thing. And I remember sitting in the theater, like actually like with like tears coming out of my eyes, like wow, because you don't often see that. Most of the portrayals are, drug dealers or, thugs or this and that. And anytime that it's portrayed as doctors and this and that, it's not as popular.
Yeah.
The movies don't get as much, even from like, my people in general, like, I've always kind of said like, we'll often show up to the theaters for the comedies and things like that. But, with the more serious roles, we wait for Netflix. So how it goes.
Yeah.
But I remember how empowering that was. And then beyond the film, you're just seeing like all these examples of how he touched people, the work that he was doing quietly, and a lot of ways, just charity work and, working with children who were, going through their own struggles, with cancer and things like that. And there's a story going around now how, Denzel paid his tuition, like he, not knowingly, but paid his tuition, when he was at Howard University, and years later getting to honor him, and the joke kind of, well, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Denzel went to the premiere of Black Panther.
Yes.
And, and there was always like the funny exchange is like, well, you owe me money.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not here for the movie. I'm not here for the movie.
Yeah. But watching, Chadwick's speech in that, and the honor of thanking Denzel and telling him what he meant to him and what Denzel's role in building them up to go forward was like really awesome to see. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, again, you have a short relationship with this person who played these roles, but their impact has gone beyond Hollywood.
Yeah.
And like Nick said, you see it in the reflection and the ripples of what you're seeing in social media right now. So it's really amazing. It's heartbreaking too, man. Because like we said, 2020, man, like started with, which seemed like ages ago, with Kobe and his daughter. Yeah. Tragically just gone. And with Chadwick, I mean, a lot of us, we didn't know that he was like that, like sick like that.
Yeah.
And it's just they really played that close to the vest and kind of kept that under wraps, which understandable, privacy wise and everything. The media is already brutal enough to deal with and, have them in your life like that. So, but yeah, the send off has been amazing. I think we lost a great one, but you honor it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I've got nothing I can add on top of that. It was heartbreaking. It was way too soon. Obviously, that goes without saying. This man had a whole career ahead of him. And, the fact that Eric, I remember DMing you, I think, immediately after seeing that film and just going like, that was a man who carried himself in, like, that was royalty. You just looked at him and you knew, yeah, he's portraying it. It's obvious. It's the way he speaks. It's the way he talks. And the fact that, young Black children got to see that example.
Right.
Like, it adds so much context and so much weight to what he was, now we realize, putting himself through filming this and how important we realized it was. And I'm just yammering out loud. I don't really have anything meaningful I can say beyond that.
It's still raw.
Yeah.
It's so raw,
Well, there's very few actors. Like I don't like. There's very few actors I think that could play Jackie Robinson, then go to superhero movies. And I also he did James Brown. He did a James Brown biopic that was apparently really good. That I'll need to check out at some point. That level of variety and being able to play such iconic people and still make them his own was, like I said, he was a talent for the generation that is often gone too soon. And as Sam said, I saw it with like some of the kids like my kids interact with, Black Panther gave kids that might not necessarily see themselves on the silver screen as much a hero to look up to. And I think that's worth $1 million. And that's why I really think I don't know. It's just, like Sam said, I'm blabbering. This is why I really hope we get to see something more Miles Morales focused in the future, because I want kids to be able, people growing up should be able to look at the silver screen or a video game or anything and be able to find a character that best represents themselves. Mm-hmm. That's just all there is to it. And he did a fantastic job with Black Panther in giving Black children someone to look up to in how he carried himself, how he acted, and everything else. And that is a rarity, and it needs to be more commonplace going forward. And that's all I gotta say on it. Rest in peace to him, and Marvel, please don't recast. That's it. That's done. Just move on. And if they do recast him, I feel sorry for whoever the hell has to step into those shoes.
Yeah, no kidding. Good luck.
Yeah, that's a tough. I don't envy being in that spot. I'm trying to figure that out.
Nope. No.
And I just don't think they should, but they will. It'd be the same thing as everyone said that after Heath Ledger, no one should play the Joker again. We still got more Jokers, so. Wait and see, and hope Marvel waits some time at least to before they do anything like that. But moving right along, we've got an exciting show, and I will pull up the topics list. So we had Gamescom opening night, which, if I played by my social media feed, was incredibly boring. I was at work the whole time. I opened up Twitter, and no one seemed to be talking about it, but I thought there's some really cool tidbits through there. A few highlights, of course, for myself personally, as we go around and we talk about what stuck out to you guys. Doom Eternal, man. Doom Eternal. You know what? 2020 has sucked for so many things, but Doom, baby. All your favorite games getting delayed? Don't worry. Doom's got DLC for you. Yeah, Doom Eternal looks amazing. I'm ready to rip and tear more stuff because I'm twice as angry as I was when that game launched in March. And also worth noting was Ratchet & Clank still looks like the PS5 game I want. Period. End of story. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart has had multiple showings now where it looks really impressive. And I've got to say that I never thought I'd see the day that we're heading into PS5 with Insomniac Games basically taking the whole launch lineup and going, all right, boys, we're going for the finish line. Because that's what Insomniac Games is essentially doing with Spider-Man Miles Morales and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Like the only other logical game I see hitting launch window is Demon's Souls, which me and Sam have a bet on. Did we do launch date or launch window? I can't remember. I'm gonna have to go back for that.
We said launch day, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was launch day, but I'm gonna go back and listen to it just so I don't get you on technicalities. Because last thing I need is Hogue showing up and telling me I cheated my bet.
He brings up the content.
Pages here on virtual legality.
That'd be amazing. But we'll pass this over to Sam first, because I know you were probably writing a ton of this stuff. What stuck out to you from Gamescom opening night?
People talk all the time about stuff they're not interested in. Y'all know me. I don't like if I didn't like something, I'm not usually going to talk about it unless it's a part of our topics list.
Absolutely.
So I say that to say I'm happy Dragon Age still exists. Like, I am very happy about that, because last time we heard about that game was the Game Awards teaser, I believe.
Yep.
In 2018, December 2018. So I'm happy, a year and a half later that game exists. But at the same time, why are we doing a BioWare studio tour and concept art years later? Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. Like, I don't even want to think about how far off that game is. But it still exists. I'm still happy, so give me a new Dragon Age. I'll say that. Beyond that, as you said, Ratchet & Clank looks good. I'm going to be the Debbie Downer sourpuss of the bunch. There wasn't actually that much new footage. It was the demo we saw before with the gaps filled in. But, it still looked good, to be clear. It still looked very good. It's just, it wasn't 7 minutes new footage. It was like 2 or 3 minutes new footage.
There's continuous gameplay footage.
Yeah, it looked good.
They did say extended though, right?
It is extended, yeah. Like they showed some clips that weren't there before, and it wasn't cut apart like it was, for the reveal trailer. It was all one continuous play session. So, that was appreciated. To be clear, the game looks really good. What else was there? And a 60 frames per second mode is appreciated. I know that wasn't part of Gamescom, but they came out later and said it. So thank you, Insomniac. Options are always a good thing. Beyond that, 12 minutes. Which is a game I know Eric is also very interested in and has been interested in. That game looked good when it was revealed back at, I think, E3 2019 was when it was. Like, I love the idea of a time loop and solving a mystery like that, but they now revealed that James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe are the voice cast, which, okay, yeah. You get, that's, I mean, talk about the killer lineup. Yeah, so that's probably it for me. Those are the highlights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 12 minutes really shocked me. I was like, when I remember first seeing the reveal, I was like, oh, it's a cool, interesting concept in an indie game format. That's really cool. I'll keep my eye out for that. And then they're like, hey, by the way, we've got 3 like big A-list voice like actors for the voice acting. I'm like, how? I'm honestly here for anything. Like, Willem Dafoe is like one of my favorite like actors. Like, I'm sorry, but he is so iconic in that original Spider-Man. I cannot unsee his face in that movie if I could even wanted to. But yeah, Eric, what'd you walk away from Gamescom opening night with?
Yeah, I'll package what you said, and I'll package what Sam said, and regift it. And so yeah, definitely Doom DLC, the Ancient Gods. I'm there for it. Doom has been one of those pleasures of the year. 2020 has been crap, but Doom ain't crap. so I'm down with that. And like I told you in the DM the other day, man, I'll stand with you all day on that one. We can stand together, hand in hand, skipping down the roads of Twitter, knocking anybody out who slanders. We can do that. But yeah, and Ratchet and Clank, I know when they said they were going to do the demo. So like Sam was saying, it was more of the extended one, and they kind of put together the 2 pieces of the PlayStation reveal and did it all in one shot, as opposed to splitting it up. But I was already in on that. So it's like whether you come the day the console launches or you're coming in the window. That was one of my favorite games on PS4. So yeah, so that just looks all types of good. So I'm ready for that. But I'm going to throw out, 12 minutes, obviously. Like I said, from the day that was revealed, I was like, that looks hella interesting, and it's even more so now seeing the cast that they have. But it's even beyond the cast, it just looks so intriguing. The perspective that they're doing with it, and what it's going to be about. So I'm all in on that one. But one of my other games is Little Nightmares 2. Absolutely.
You have carried a torch. You have carried a torch for the original one there, which I still haven't played. But
I would highly recommend it if anyone has not played that game yet. It is so cool and creepy. And this one looks like it's just ratcheting that up. And now they have the co-op element in there, which is actually pretty cool too. Don't know if I'm assuming it's online co-op. I don't know, but you can't assume that these days. With some of these games. So maybe it's couch. Either way. That's high up there for me. Let's see. I'm looking at my list here. And Chorus actually looked pretty cool again. Like that was one I had my eye on from the initial Xbox reveal, third-party reveal. So we don't get many spaceship, like shooter type games, and this one looks like it's based more like story-based, campaign-based. So that looked pretty intriguing too. And I think I said to you guys in DM, it was interesting. No one really talked about it, but I kind of thought Outriders looked a lot better than the first time they showed it.
You know what? It's interesting you say that, Eric, because I have not personally, I have not previewed it personally, but I have talked to some people who have gotten a chance to see stuff that is going on with it, and they say this game actually plays like and feels like what the Avengers game wishes it was. Like this actually does feel really good. Like the powers feel really good. They say it doesn't visually look like all that inspiring or whatever, but it actually plays really well. So that's interesting. That maybe that comes together into something intriguing there.
Maybe, and it's not even, it's just one of those things that you kind of look at it and you go, like, it looks like a video game that we know. It seems like it's something that we're very familiar with. So it's not doing anything where you're like, oh, that's new and that's fresh, but it's sort of like, hey, we'll be here to kind of bridge the gap into the next generation type of thing. And those games are important. You kind of need those games. But again, it's one of those games that's you don't hear a lot of people talking about it, for whatever reason, because people are stuck on whatever's going on first party all the time. But I'm like, hey, maybe that could be one of those games that kind of surprises people. But I'm just saying from the initial reveal, it looked better than what they initially showed. It looks like there's a little bit more going on,
I think kind of the problem that faces that game is when it was revealed, it kind of looked super generic at the time.
Yeah, I remember.
And the development studio behind it, People Can Fly, is kind of notorious for being kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
Let's face it, Gears of War Judgment is not anyone's favorite Gears of War experience. They were brilliant. They were brilliant with Bulletstorm, though.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So I'm kind of interested in that. And it's published by Square Enix, which, by the way, People Can Fly and Square Enix is the weirdest publishing combination I've ever seen in my life. We're going to make a third-person action shooter, and Square Enix is like, yeah, we want that. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
And it's sort of like the game that's like, we'll make a sandwich with whatever we find in the fridge. So we got a little bit of Gears, we got a little bit of Borderlands, we got a little bit of Destiny.
What kind of interests me about it, though, is they said it's not meant to be like a lifelong service game like Destiny. It's supposed to be more of a compact experience. And I'm kind of interested in that because my biggest turnoff from Destiny is I don't want to become a Destiny guy. I'd like to be able to casually play Destiny, not have to change my religion and change my census information in order to play it. That's what kind of interests me about those games is that we're seeing these games that demand all your time, but there's now games coming out that are taking the good parts of those kind of games and kind of being like, hey, we understand if you want to play other stuff, so here.
Right.
So I think
you don't want to sign over your life.
Yeah, I am not a World of Warcraft, Destiny, or anything like that guy. I can't play the same game for a long period of time, says the guy who has a year on Smite. But Jared, what about you, my friend? Did you see anything that stood out to you personally, or?
Yes, actually, there's a few things. I didn't actually get the chance to watch most of the show, but I was able to catch little tidbits. But actually, basically, there's 4 games that Eric mentioned that stood out for me as well, which is Little Nightmares 2, Chorus. What was it? 12 Minutes. That was another one. And then actually, the Medal of Honor game. I need to talk about that one for a second, okay? That looked really good to start, and that wasn't fair. I was really looking forward to having a, back to basics Medal of Honor game, and they had to go turn into VR, and it's not fair because I don't want to buy VR, especially Oculus. And now I really want to, and it's just like
Mark Zuckerberg wants all of your money.
It genuinely looks really good. I was surprised. I'm like, this is actually something I could probably get into for a VR experience. Not gonna lie, and I don't own VR. I've never played VR before, so that says a lot. And then there was one other title. Now it's escaping my brain.
But you know what?
There's a whole bunch.
Yeah, why you think there was another one? And maybe we're thinking of the same one. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick.
I'll take it.
All these things start running together after a while. You're like, what was that one with the girl?
Well, there's
that
like 30
backwards or
there's
something?
30 plus games.
We're hitting the point with this generation where it's similar to like you guys remember near the end of the 360 and PS3 generation. It's like, yeah, it's that third-person action game with the brown walls and the wall cover.
Whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, it was the one with the guy. He had like the gun in one hand and a squirrel partner on his shoulder or something like that.
Oh, that one. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Jared, were you thinking Unknown 9 Awakening?
No,
No, that wasn't it.
no. Don't worry
That would be
about it. Don't worry. It'll come to me at some point in time, and I'll shout it later on in the show. It was this game. What are you talking about? This thing. Shut up, Jared. Just go away. Go have a nap or something.
Yeah,
What was that game? Easter Bunny Must Die from Hula Hoop Studios.
Oh, I'll take it.
all I will say is I kind of agree with Jared. When I heard Respawn Entertainment was doing a Medal of Honor game, I literally jumped out of my chair and I was like, yes, greatness. And then they're like, VR. I'm like, son of fuck.
I lightly flicked your nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, that sting a little.
Yeah,
Ow.
like that hurt me. But I told this wild woolly fan theory to Sam all the way back when this game was revealed back in I think like 2019. This is definitely them testing the waters with the IP again.
Yes,
100%.
100%. Yeah,
This is them going VR games, like first-person VR games are obviously all the rage because it's very immersive. But I'm interested to see how Respawn can kill it because, like, there hasn't been anything Respawn has made where they haven't killed it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean the game's selling amazing, but mechanically, they don't put out bad games. Period. End of story. And those that didn't buy Titanfall 2, shame on you.
Scumbags.
And you're also a scumbag if you bought it for $5. Because there's so many people on my feed that are like, oh man, I wish we got another Titanfall game. I just bought it for $5 and the game's amazing. I'm like, well, if you bought it a little bit more expensive, we might have got one.
It's like all the people asking for Sunset Overdrive 2. I shouldn't say all the people, but I'm like,
There's like 5.
yeah.
It's like half y'all never even played it. Or even own it.
They gave it away and you ignored it.
You don't even own an Xbox.
But yeah, no, Gamescom opening night was interesting. I have to admit, though, compared to previous Gamescom, this one just kind of floated by for me. I'm not gonna like say I fell asleep because Jared literally fell asleep.
He did.
Nappy little guy.
Sorry. It was a long day.
But the thing is like it didn't seem to have the hype, and I don't know if it's just because I'm so sick and tired of the fact we've been in nonstop live stream events for the past 4 months or what, but I just could not find myself to give a fiber of a crap about most of the stuff that was shown.
Everyone's exhausted, man.
yeah. Which by the way leads me to the point of congratulations. Assuming nothing happens on Monday, which it could, but I don't think it will. We are going to get out of August and into September without knowing these console prices.
I knew this was coming. You know what? I sat there. I saw that Reset Era rumor where they're like, PS5 price will be announced at Gamescom. I'm like, no, it won't. It's not happening because you know what? We're going to go into September and we're not going to know these prices. You know when you're going to get your console prices? Your local PlayStation or Microsoft rep's going to show up at your door while you're playing, and you'll knock and be like, hey, here's the bill. But don't tell anybody or else we'll kill you.
Hey,
You want to keep the console or you want to keep your kneecaps? It's real simple.
Well, no, like
legitimately.
here. Like all that's going to happen is if you go, you get your Xbox Series X or your PS5 home. This works for both of them because of the design. You get them both home. You set them up in your hardware unit. Everything else, you turn it on. It tells you the price. It's like if you tell anyone about this price, we'll kill you. And then the Decepticon legs come out of the bottom of the console.
Oh, God.
But no,
Snitches
legitimately, I'll do this. PlayStation, Xbox. The first one of you to show price is the console I'll buy. Go.
No, I'm gonna put it out there now. What's getting ready to go down? They're gonna pull the cell phone model on you. They're gonna say price and pre-orders open the same day and we'll see you whether it's a month later or a couple weeks later.
No, if they say legitimately, I will say this.
That's what's
the thing is I said this to Sam, and it's been written a couple of various opinion pieces across Kotaku and some other sites. Is if Microsoft and Sony need to stop pretending everything's okay. Just freaking stop. They're like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like this is fine. Like it's literally the whole house is burning, and Microsoft and Sony are sitting there playing a game of poker, going, "Who's gonna budge first?" And it's so incredibly annoying because it's like, this is not a regular launch anymore. This is ludicrous. Like, if you had told me at the start of the Xbox One, the PS4 generation, we're not giving you a price. Like, you imagine walking out of E3 before a console launch and not knowing the price of the console? You know how mad people would be about this? But we're heading into September and people are like, yeah, this is fine. I'm like, I'm glad y'all have like $600 to save up on a console and spend, because I'm trying to figure this out in Canadian. I'm like, am I going to need 3 beavers and a moose to pay for this, or 6 gallons of maple syrup? I don't know. This is what I need to figure out.
I'm telling you, man, all of it makes sense in 2020. Just go with it.
No, I'm so sick of 20. You know what? 2020 is like a toxic boyfriend or girlfriend. I'm tired of its bullshit. I'm not putting up with it anymore. No more excuses. It can either figure it out or get the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
I wish you could do that.
We got 4 more months to go.
Oh, man.
2020 is the get off my lawn like all year. Like,
yeah.
How dare you have fun? Come here. How dare you enjoy life?
You're going to find me swinging from a ceiling fan with a freaking Nintendo Wii nunchuck tied around it because I'm done with everything. I'm just done with this year.
And like Sam said, it's terrifying that there's 4 more months of possibility. 4 more months of road ahead of us of all kinds of shit that can happen. It's like, what else you got, 2020? 2020, like, oh, don't you wait.
It's like
the
Voldemort of years.
It's your grandma's chain? That's my chain.
That's my chain.
2020 is the Charlie Murphy back.
Yeah, for real.
It was so funny. I sat there and I was looking for a tweet that I made to dig up and make fun of myself on. And I found a tweet from December 28th, 2019. And it was like, this year's been really rough, but the road ahead looks bright. 2020 is a full year of promise. I went, look at this fucking dumb bastard.
Everybody was dumb, man. Everyone's like, 2019 can suck it. 2020, that's where it's happening. It's happening.
Something's happening.
Man, I think the scariest thing is, like, if you match up what happened in like the 1920s with what's happening now, it's basically level. And I'm like, man, we still got a Great Depression ahead. Like, this is great. This is fine.
Hey, Glorious War says it's more than just a game of chicken.
It is, but it also isn't. Like it is. I get what he's saying. I do get that, but also it's a case of there's no feasible reason we shouldn't have the prices in release date.
How about I preface it this way? If you can't figure out the price of your console 2 months before launch, maybe you should delay the fucking launch.
People don't like hearing that, man.
I understand how financials work. I understand they want to close out the quarter by selling off these consoles and moving a bunch of hardware units. It'll make the numbers look really good. But if either A, people can't get the consoles because it's not available in their region because they don't have enough of them, or B, you aren't honest with your consumers about what these consoles are going to charge, because you know what? I'm getting more and more nervous that we're going to have stupid expensive consoles, because maybe they're sitting on it because they're like, oh, we need a good economic week to announce we're going to release $600 consoles. It's obviously not that, hopefully, but it's just silly at this point. Like, there's no way at this point they can't offer a price. I'm sorry. There is no way. If these consoles are already made, they are being made and manufactured right now in China. There is no way that they don't have a price ironed out. It's not like all of a sudden PlayStation 5 is going to be $399 because of a miracle of 2 weeks. That's not going to happen. And it just, I need one thing in 2020 to go right. Just give me the price of the consoles. That's it. But we're going to talk a little bit about Halo Infinite now that our depression about 2020 was a 10-minute segment. Someone who many people who are fans of Halo may be familiar with is returning to work on the project. So Joseph Staten. God, got the first time. So there's been a lot of questions raised about what's going on at 343 Industries. Well, we might not know the full story of that. The delay of Halo Infinite to 2021 is obviously a serious sign that Microsoft is taking the game more seriously and wants to address more issues going forward. In a report that appeared before the official news drop, Joseph Staten was returning to 343 amongst shuffling of leadership. It was when I say shuffling, I don't mean people are fired or anything else. It's basically very similar to what Naughty Dog did with The Last of Us Part 2, is they shuffled some leadership after the launch of Uncharted Lost Legacy and shuffled some team members in to assist along with the development process. What do you guys think about this? Staten returning to Halo. I'm trying to remember what he was working on before. I think someone told me he was working in a assistive mode on Tell Me Why or something externally.
He did some of the writing on Tell Me Why. He's been writing for a couple of different global publishing projects. A couple of them haven't come out yet. I think one of them actually has not even been announced yet, surprisingly enough, but that's another topic. But yeah, he's just been doing supplementary writing. Like he wrote for Tell Me Why. I think he did some writing back on. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was another one. Like the point is, he's just been helping write stuff.
So, my question to you guys is: with Staten returning, and he primarily focuses on writing aspects and everything else, I don't think this is to fix Halo Infinite in its current state. I think this is pre-planning for content going forward. Because we're kind of looking at the whole, I put this in quotations because Destiny coined it, the 10-year plan, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of excited for that personally. I don't know. I just think he does some really great work, and I'm really excited to see him do more work in terms of Halo going forward.
Yeah.
Any thoughts in general? Because we haven't really talked about, because we missed a week and a half of news cycle about Halo Infinite. So if you guys have any thoughts in regards to Staten rejoining, I apologize for this. I was rushing today, so I did not get to read. There was another person that was announced as returning as well. I don't remember who that is. Sam, there was a second person as well, right?
A community manager, but I can't talk from the Bungie days.
Okay.
Just a community manager who was well known during the Halo 2 and Halo 3 days.
Okay.
But if Eric or Jared, if either of you want to go ahead and take the lead on this, you can. I don't want to cut you off.
Well, I guess for me, that's a good sign, knowing that, like Nick mentioned, is they're not going to be trying to fix things. They are trying to fix things right now in the current state of Halo, but not to the extent of what people are probably connecting Joseph with Halo right now. It is more so geared towards the post-game content, and I'm kind of curious as to exactly how that direction is going to go, because the story itself was probably good and substantial enough, but I'm really curious to see if they're going to go towards the older gritty days now that Joseph is on board with the post-game content and whatnot. And I would really like to see a lot more of the darker side to Halo, because we had, in Halo 4 and Halo 5, we had almost a superhero kind of feeling when you're playing Master Chief sort of thing, going to save the human race and defeat the alien species, blah, blah, blah sort of thing. There was never really, to me, a feeling of actually slight worry or panic or of dread or of things going to go bad. And I want Halo to really re-embody that. And I'm hoping with Joseph on board, they can really nail that with post-game content. And I think it's just a good move. overall.
Yeah. Okay. I'll very quickly say, anyone who this isn't going to change the story, like they're not reworking the story or changing anything about the story at this point. This is 100% post-launch stuff. This is 100% having a stronger leadership in place for the story moving forward after this, after it launches. They're not. Also, this isn't going to delay it further, like back then, whatever they already did. Like, well, I can't say too much publicly, or I will get in trouble. But like, this is more post-launch stuff than it is anything going on right now. Whatever you want to make of that. So I'll say that.
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good move. I think anything that you can do to make this thing better and make it move or whatever's going on there. I don't know. Speculation wise, I don't know. I still have like this gut feeling that there's probably other internal things going on there, but that's just me. So yeah, I'll just kind of wait and see how it all kind of unfolds and falls out. Just make a good Halo game. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a couple of things that, like, everyone's like, oh, Staten will be able to fix the game and everything. First of all, don't put all the onus of fixing problems on one person. That's ridiculous. Secondly, as Sam noted, this is more probably for story direction stuff and future content. All the complaints about Halo Infinite had nothing to do with the story direction. I think story direction is the one thing where everyone can agree this is a good step. Like, the story arc for Halo Infinite is interesting and tantalizing. And I think they want to make sure that that interest continues past the launch of Halo Infinite, which is a smart idea. Because we all know what happens if you don't have an interesting arc post-launch when you're running a quote-unquote story service game. Because we've seen it with Destiny, where I've seen Destiny fans go to one DLC and go, oh, this is amazing, this is amazing. And then they go to the next one, they're like, why? Why? And then you get into this whole argument. So I think it's good future-proofing for them. And I think that 343 just needs to take their time with Halo Infinite. Yeah, it's one of those things. Halo is one of those games. It's like I said with The Last of Us Part 2 as well, is those games, take all the time you need, release them perfect, or as close to perfect as you can. That's it. That's all there is to it. If they need more time, give them more time. I'm excited to see what comes out for more time on this game. And that's pretty much what's coming out besides Halo Infinite from Xbox Game Studios. Well, I don't know. They've released like 5 games from Xbox Game Studios in the past like 3 weeks. So I don't know what people more want from that. But, oh well. Whenever we talk about Xbox Game Studios games, it doesn't count. It's only Halo and Forza and Gears. The end. But that's a discussion for another day. So we're moving right along here. I can't even believe this. You can now register to be informed that you can pre-order a PlayStation 5.
No, that's not correct. That's not correct. I'm going to stop you. You could already do that. You're registering for the chance to be selected to pre-order it.
Yeah.
Directly from PlayStation. Because remember, they set up they didn't have direct pre-orders before. PlayStation always went through retailers. They did not have their own store. They set up their own store. I want to say it was last year, but it might have been early this year.
Last year, I think.
Okay, I mean, either way, split the difference, whatever. So this is them saying you can register for the chance to maybe be one who gets to pre-order directly from them. Obviously, you'd be limited to only one console. I think they limit you to 2 controllers, like 1 headset, a couple of accessories. Like there's an extensive FAQ of what they'll limit you to and what you're able to do and what you're not able to if you're one of the ones selected.
I like anti-scalping measures. Thank you for it. I'm glad. Like, it's pretty obvious with PlayStation 5 that they need to have some anti-scalping measures in place. But goddamn, Best Buy and flipping GameStop and everything else will be like, you want 5? We'll give you 5 as long as you buy them. Say, give us your money. We don't care. It's interesting to me because PlayStation really hasn't talked about, pre-orders, neither is Xbox. And I'm kind of wondering how much is going to be done through direct order this time and how much they might skip retailers on allocation. Like, is PlayStation good? Because you got to think this is all allocated to different regions and stores and everything else. So some stores might get more than others and everything else. But it'll be a very interesting move economically if PlayStation and Xbox decide to directly buy off of their store. Because as everyone knows, the Xbox store is, I'm not going to say it's insanely user-friendly, but it's pretty easy to navigate. You can buy hardware, software, anything directly from it pretty easily. And the PlayStation store, since its launch, is actually a pretty clean store and works really well. I've bought a few things off there myself. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that so that they can control the flow of the consoles. I imagine there'd be some money differentiation. What do you guys think? Is this going to be the future? Are we going to be direct buying our consoles going more forward, especially due to COVID-19 and distribution chains and everything else?
I mean, anything's possible. It's kind of how you start like a new model, kind of maybe test the waters and see. I mean, we're definitely in that age, in that era now where this kind of thing makes sense. I mean, I don't really see necessarily like a downside to it, except for because I think you have a window. If you do get selected, there's like you have it's not guaranteed. You have a window to get in, and if you don't, you miss that window, then you move with someone else. So.
Yeah, first come, first serve, and it's as Glorious War noted, which is something that pissed me and Jared off. It's U.S. only.
Right. They if you're Canada or UK or Europe or whatever, this isn't going to count. So I don't know. Like, it's not. I'll say this, and then I'll move on from this topic. It's not a bad thing to give your more hardcore fans a chance to pre-order and make sure they get a console. That's not a bad thing. But A, it's very heavily restricted, which is, in terms of landmass, whatever, which is one thing. And then B, what does allocation look like overall?
Yeah.
And then no one actually has that answer at this point. That's pure speculation.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess for me, I think it does suck that it's U.S. only, but at the same time, after thinking it over for a little while, to me, it seems like they're trying to figure out a way to make sure that if someone in the U.S. wants to get a PS5, they have a chance to, just because online orders are going to be climbing through the roof exponentially itself. So they want to make sure if there's going to be a whole bunch of online orders, make sure everybody has a chance to do it. But not just that, with the virus being so rampant right now and showing no signs of slowing down in the US right now, you can't see anyone actually be having a place to go to pick it up physically. So right now, this is a good way to test out the waters and find out a way, hey, if we need to do a pure digital distribution from just directly ourselves without having to rely on extra third-party sources, we might have to figure that out. And now we need to, if this is what we could have to do because of the situation getting worse, we need to figure it out now. We figure it out quick. So this is a good way to test the waters, to see exactly what's going on, see who is interested, to gauge, okay, how much stock are we going to need in the US and who we're going to have to team up with to make sure we can distribute it out properly, because they're probably going to have to team up with someone like Amazon to get them out properly to consumers for a delivery service. So it's definitely more of a distribution aspect than anything else right now.
Yeah, well, you got to think, with COVID-19 and everything else, we aren't going to do a PlayStation 4 launch night where there's 2,000 people cramming into a game store to get a PlayStation, right? We
Absolutely
can't do
not
that anymore.
This is unprecedented.
I think some retailers have actually, not all, not all, but some have actually said, no, we're not doing Black Friday this year. It's not happening. I don't remember who it was. It was Target.
Walmart was one of them.
Walmart, maybe it was Walmart. It was one of the big ones said it ain't happening. So Jared, you have to imagine that impacts sales in some capacity. And again, that's the thing. We're in speculation mode. Matt Piscatella, amazing analyst, go follow him, outright said, good luck trying to make a prediction or a forecast.
No kidding.
No one knows what this crap looks like. We are in unprecedented waters, and until there is a vaccine that not only exists but is safe, proven effective, and widely available, we are going to continue being in uncharted waters. That's just where we're at.
And not even just that, Sam, but the post office is all jacked up.
Don't even get me started on that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started.
That's a whole other hurdle that
Mhm.
people are probably going to be facing as well.
That's why I brought up the whole Amazon thing. That's why they might have to team up with them, because they can't really rely on the U.S. Postal Service. Not right now. Now the election's coming up as well.
I'd actually be amazed if most of the some of the the bigger retailers who will be shipping things will actually use the post office at all.
Yeah.
That'll be like a logistical nightmare for them. Like you said, on top of the election stuff going on. So
Well, I got
November as well, when all this stuff is going to be going down.
Yeah.
Like,
oh man. Yeah.
man, it's gonna it's
bad.
crazy that it took like a pandemic for a retailer to say, hey, go ahead and stay home with your family for Thanksgiving for once.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing quickly though, because I know there's someone out there is running rampant with this narrative already. It's not because there's going to be a stock shortage for the damn PS5. You stop that nonsense right now. That's not the reason for the freaking email.
No,
my goodness.
No, absolutely, Jared. Like Phil Spencer and others have said this. Like
Ugh.
East Asia or Asia in general recovered quickly enough. Hardware has not been delayed. Hardware is the only thing at this point that has not been delayed.
True.
Hardware is being produced, and hardware will make it on time. And I think that more than anything is why Sony and Microsoft can't delay, is because would they be willing to pay the fees to just keep these things in overseas warehouses?
Yes, they can't really afford something like that for a long period of time. So it's rather figure out a good way to get it out to the masses via digital distribution market with other third-party distributors, and just get them out rather than sitting on money that you could be selling and then wasting money burning it, basically trying to keep it in the storage locked up without people trying to get their hands on it and trying to steal them or whatnot.
I have to think, and once again, this is all speculation, so don't quote anybody on this, but there was a survey a while ago gauging interest on PlayStation 5 that was available worldwide, and it was like, one of the questions was along the lines of how interested are you in PS5, blah, 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 blah. And now we've got these where people are signing up in droves for emails in regards to PlayStation 5. I have to wonder if it's part of a wider plan within Sony to try to figure out how they're going to allocate these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to think, like, Europe is a massive, like, mind share for PlayStation 4 right now. They're still selling consoles hand over fist in Europe for what they're able to make. Basically, as soon as they pump them out, they're being sold right now. In terms of hardware. So Europe's a really big market for them, but at the same time, the US market is also a really big market for them. And that's the main competition ground for them and Microsoft is the United States. North America is pretty much the only ground where Microsoft can kind of stay on even levels with Sony at this point in time. So I can't imagine them conceding much there. And then they've got to worry about allocating, Japan's going to want some, and et cetera, et cetera. I would not, whoever has to do the logistics for these launches right now, I don't want your job. I feel sorry for you. That would be it's a logistical nightmare of getting stuff from point A to point B. I work in shipping and distribution of hydro utility parts, which you think are, life-altering things, Power's out, you need stuff, we send it to you, boom. You would think that'd be a straightforward process. No, we've had issues since COVID-19 where people have gone like 6, 7, 8 days without power because we can't get parts due to distribution chain screw-ups. So you add that into things that are like consoles and everything else, it's a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see. I registered anyway using a US IP because I was like, Eric,
go pick this up for me. I need you to ship it out to you, bud.
Hey, Eric, I need you to pick up that PS5 for me, but don't keep it.
Sorry, what? PS5?
Oh man, they didn't have it at the post office. Sorry. Hey, Eric, what's that in the background there?
I'm like, what?
Hey, do you know you can blow into this DualSense controller?
It'd be like George Costanza with the chair, like, But no, I saw Jared comment on this on Twitter the other day, and I'm inclined to agree with him. I see, there's like this thing going on with people saying like they should just delay the consoles, right? And that's an easy thing to say. And I'm kind of just like, why? What does it really matter to you if they delay them or go ahead and ship them? You don't have to go buy one. If people want it, put it out there, and like you said, now you're talking, you're talking logistics, you're talking warehouse storage, you're talking supply, the whole thing. You don't want a razor scooter scenario where you have a warehouse full of stuff that you're like, what do we, we're putting the note on this. So you ship it. And if it goes to retailers and you don't sell out of the initial allotment, then you go from there. You figure it out.
Yeah.
But delaying it for what? You don't have to go grab one.
Exactly.
Saying that they may hold off. And that's perfectly fine. Like, you don't have to go grab it. Go and get it.
Yeah. No. In fact, I would tell you, if you're comfortable playing, I would even tell you, wait until 2021. You'll probably get a good bundle. You'll probably get a deal. You'll probably get a game thrown in. There will objectively be more games to play. But at the same time, don't shame those of us who do just want to upgrade for the sake of upgrade. I know that sounds weird. And I'm actually not speaking for myself. I have to get them because it's just part of my job. Like, I have to. Which isn't covered by your job, by the way. That's another thing that people have this weird misconception that because you work at a big site or even IGN or whatever, that all your stuff is paid for. And
what do you mean you don't have a 4K C9 LK image?
Yeah, like you work for one of the biggest sites ever. You're rolling in it. It's
no.
Doesn't work that way.
I eat. I have a house. I pay my bills. Like,
right. It's all the other things still need to be taken care of, guys.
So wait, you're telling me that Phil Spencer doesn't hand deliver a check every month? What the hell?
I mean, reviewers don't get paid by their companies? Oh, they don't pay for the scores. I knew it.
Man, let me tell you right now, I would not be sitting on the computer chair that is essentially as comfortable as a milk crate if I got paid by companies to do reviews. I'll tell you that much.
I'll be honest, with the few reviews I've done for Xbox so far, I'm missing some paychecks. I could be using some stuff right now. Just saying.
Whenever
Cyberpunk release,
whenever people talk about paid reviews, all I can ever think of is back to when State of Decay 2 launched, and Sam got a review code for this, and we posted the review on N4G, and the top-rated comment that the community upvoted, because Sam gave it a 7 out of 10, was, and I quote, "Microsoft must have sent this man a pot of gold." So not only did they assume that he got paid for this review, they assumed that Sam was a leprechaun that would accept a pot of gold as an acceptable form of payment and currency. Absolute gold.
Just saying.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
God damn it, people.
Come on. Talk about stuff that people want to spend their money on, just nobody on this podcast. So Marvel Avengers in the news again. I can't. No, Sam, leave this one. I can't even with this. I'm just gonna sit here and temple my fingers.
You all right?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. No, I'm just templing my fingers evilly.
Okay, all right. So, so basically, obviously, the game had its beta, very successful beta, over 6 million players. The stats came out today, and they are continuing to edit. Obviously, this is a game like Destiny. It doesn't really go gold. They roll from the beta into the game. That's just how it works. Launches, I believe, in early access on September 1st, and then the worldwide launch is September 4th, just about a week from today, if I remember correctly. Anyways, so they... Crystal Dynamics, the developers, put out this blog post explaining, what the microtransactions are, what aren't microtransactions, how it's all going to work. And how it works is each hero has a battle pass called a Hero Challenge card. And this has 40 tiers. Some of these tiers are free items. Some of them are premium items that you only get if you purchase the battle pass, which is 1,000 credits or $10. There's a couple of asterisk marks on there. All the launch heroes, it's all free. So Iron Man, Black Widow, Hulk, et cetera, Kamala Khan, they're all free. It's only the post-launch heroes that you have to pay for. So Spider-Man, Hawkeye, according to some data miners, it looks like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Ant-Man and others are getting added. But that's data mined. That's not actually officially announced. So take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, Glorious War. I wish I had the Cyberpunk chair. I should get that, actually. I should spend like $500 on that. And I'm not being facetious. I'm being dead serious. I should get that. But so that's that. And I'm interested in what y'all think. I have some mixed thoughts about this myself. I understand the argument of, hey, like Call of Duty does a battle pass and Apex Legends does a battle pass. A lot of big games do battle passes these days. Some of them are well implemented, in my opinion. The Call of Duty one, I think for what it offers, Warzone is a free game, is fair. And obviously, if you actually complete the battle pass, and it's the same thing in Avengers, you earn enough that you can actually just pay for the next one. So you're not out another $10. But that obviously comes with the caveat that you're only grinding that hero. You're not grinding any of the others. You're not making progress on any of the others. You're not paying for anything else. So I kind of have some mixed thoughts on it. My opinion on the rest of the game is well known at this point. I'm interested in what y'all have to say, since everyone whose name doesn't start with an N is a very big Marvel fan here, and thus their opinions are very valid.
Shade.
I can edit people's names in here. I'm throwing an N in front of Jared and Eric's name. And I will be known as Nicholas Downey going forward. I want Eric's and Jared's thoughts, because obviously you guys are more Marvel initiated than I am.
I'm Marvel initiated. I don't care about this game. That's the crazy part. Is like I can't bring myself to really care. I don't know why. It's just, you would think I would. From playing the beta, I just kind of walked away from it. Like, I want a Hulk Ultimate Destruction game, a new one with this.
Everyone says Hulk plays well. Everyone says Hulk plays the best.
And Captain America, I could see a Captain America game kind of just throwing shields in people's faces and stuff. Let's do this. Let's just do this. Go the route of charging for skins and DLC, and let's just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe it'll be different when the game is out. There is a really nice steelbook for it at Best Buy.
I did, yes, I saw that. It's a good steelbook.
It's a really good steelbook.
It looks good.
But I don't know, and maybe it's because I have other games that I'm more interested in playing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's the fact that I just kind of look at the characters and I'm like, I don't really see the love for. It doesn't feel like people who love these characters made this game. Like, they got the gist of it, the feel, or whatever in some cases. But it doesn't seem like it's we're swinging for the rafters on making an Avengers game because people love it. It seems like, I don't know. It's just, so then like the battle pass stuff, hearing Sam explain it, because I didn't even really look into it, because again, mustering up any real care for it, I'm like, I'm not really looking at picking it up anyway.
Sure.
So I'm just, I don't know. Maybe it'll be different later. Maybe it'll hit and all of a sudden it becomes like this thing, and I'll gain some interest in it, but it's very odd for me to say that as a comic fan. Yeah. This is something I should be all over,
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, because I didn't have this feeling when Ultimate Alliance dropped. I picked that up day one, and I'm like, I'm completely okay with this. But maybe it's just the way the whole thing is rolling out. I'm like, what is this game supposed to be?
It doesn't. I don't. I know they're not the same games, and I shouldn't compare. Right. But it doesn't help that Marvel's Spider-Man from Insomniac was excellent, and we have Miles Morales coming out. I mean, presumably, assuming it doesn't get delayed, that's presumably coming out this year. Like, that's not helping things. I don't think is the shadow of, at bare minimum, a really good game.
You know what? Well. That's 100%. And I'm seeing what Dan just wrote, and he said it's a superhero game where you play as superheroes that don't feel like superheroes, and that is a thing. I was kind of like I said, Hulk plays well. It felt like Hulk. He's doing things, but I'm at the same time, I'm kind of like, you probably could put any character in this position where they just have strength and power and do this. It's like it's not really a focus, and it's jumping around and it's doing all these things. And I'm like, when you play as Black Widow, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, it has like her ability, but I don't feel like I care.
Yeah. And you know what I think the biggest part on top of that, Eric, is for me, is I'd be at least willing, out of my love of these characters, I'd be willing to give it a shot if it didn't feel like, oh, this is another game where this is your life. This is the only thing you can play if you want to make progress. Like, if that wasn't the case, I think there would still be some small part of my brain that goes, you know what, just grab it. Just go ahead. But I don't know. I can't do it. And I'm calling it right now. It's going to get some sort of retooling next year. The systems are going to be revamped. There's going to be some sort of I don't know, Destiny Taken King style, where they redo stuff. It's like, we're listening to the fans. We were going to do X, Y, Z now. And maybe that will be the time when I decide, okay, now I'm interested in trying this out. But
yeah, and we talked about this the other day, and I think they just kind of it started odd. It's like they jumped out with the character models, and again, I've seen people say, well, character models in the comic books are definitely different, and you can't really expect them to be from the movies. I'm completely okay with that. Yeah. I don't need it to look like Robert Downey. I actually like that they kind of went more for the comic book version of a Tony Stark face, right?
Yeah,
that's fine. And the character models look weird. Whatever, they fixed that. It looks better. But I'm like, why did you double down on the voice cast? Like we were supposed to get hype off of that. Like I like Nolan North. I have nothing against him. I have nothing against Troy Baker. I think Troy put in one of the coolest performances in Death Stranding. It's fine, but it's almost like they were saying gamers love these guys because they're in everything. So it's almost like, oh yeah, well yeah, we have so and so playing this part because it's so and so, and oh yeah, and they're also Tony Stark.
Troy Baker,
other way around.
Yeah, Troy Baker, Laura Bailey, and Nolan North delivered, in my opinion, the best performances of 2020, 2019, and 2016. Okay, I love them to death. But I'm officially over being excited just because they're voicing something. Like they are just oversaturated isn't the right word because a lot of voice actors do a ton of work. It's just there's no effort here. I know I've said this before, but again, I don't hear Iron Man. I don't hear Tony Stark. I don't hear Professor Banner. I don't hear Natasha. I hear an episode of Critical Role. I like Critical Role, but not in the superhero game. And just like, if you're excited for it, please, by all means, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope this game turns out to be better than we're expecting, but I'm not expecting a lot right now.
Yeah, and I will give them props. I will give them props. Like they definitely listened. They went back in, they fixed a lot of the character models, and the game looks good.
Oh yeah, sure.
The character models look really good. Like I was looking at, and you know what? Let me say this too. Maybe it doesn't matter because as I was playing the beta, Sarah walked in the room, and all she said, she just took the controller out of my hands and was smashing stuff as Hulk, and she was completely fine with it. There was no Twitter like snarkiness or like none of that stuff. She was in awe.
She just owned you. Like that's mine.
And she's like, she loved jumping off the wall and doing stuff, and I was kind of like, oh shit, maybe okay, I'm off.
All right, it's all you.
Sure. Yeah.
So I got a couple points to throw in. One, first off, is the voice acting part. I definitely agree because I'm more the type of guy where I prefer that you cast someone for the role appropriately than instead of going up to someone like, hey, we want you to play this role and nobody else. You got to find the person that fits the role properly so you can actually portray the character, so you can get the emotional attachment across from the game to the players, so you can actually get the player invested in the game. It helps. The second, it doesn't look like you guys mentioned. You don't play like a superhero. It's a beat 'em up. Like as a Hulk, I don't expect to run up to a little regular soldier dude with a rifle and punch him 3-4 times in the face, and then he goes down. I'm going to punch him once, and his skull's going to freaking cave in, or half his body's going to be gone. I'm going to kill that guy. He's done. Like he's
that's
done.
The other thing.
We're all playing Marvel. Jared's playing DC right now.
But no, that's the other thing too. Is like it's like I'm throwing Mjolnir at people, and it's like just bouncing off of them. I'm like, this should be just going through their chest,
right?
Like paving their chest thing,
And not just that, but like, I just don't get it. It doesn't appeal to me, and like I not very much at all, which is kind of disappointing. Because let me ask you this: name all the actual good superhero games that have been made over the years, except for Spider-Man, the most recent one by Insomniac, and the Marvel's Ultimate Avengers game, the Ultimate Alliance one. That one.
The Spider-Man 2 film adaptation video game was actually bomb as hell. I will fist fight anybody who disagrees with me.
Okay, and it was an excellent flip game. No. I'm thinking the wrong one. Which one do we use in the Alcoholic flip, Sam?
No, that was the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game, which was not
Shut up.
an excellent game. That one was not.
It was excellent for the flip.
A lot of copies mysteriously purchased in September 2017. A lot of copies mysteriously purchased. Don't mind me. I am a normal gamer with 5 copies.
You should have completely sold it and got a T-shirt with a photo scan face of our Andrew Garfield's face. And been like, I just really loved Amazing Spider-Man, man. Oh man,
it was almost like that. Like that was good. That was a fun time. But like to answer Jared's question, because Jared asked a very valid question. I hate to keep the Spider-Man train rolling, but the Ultimate Spider-Man game.
Absolutely.
That was good. Sam. That was good.
Really hold on. How about we do this to validate Jared's point? Because I know what he's aiming for here. Removing the Spider-Man games, has there been a good superhero games outside of because if you think outside of the Arkham games and Spider-Man games, what really have we got? Does anyone remember Aquaman?
I remember it being a thing.
Yeah, Aquaman was a PS1 or PS2 game.
Yeah.
Look it up sometime. Superman 64.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Superman 64.
Yeah. No.
I guess Hulk Ultimate Destruction. I guess
fantastic game. It's a rare thing that we've gotten. Some of the ones that we've gotten now that are actually been solid, because I'll tell you what, when they first started talking, like Batman, like Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum and stuff, you kind of initially just kind of went, because you weren't used to getting like good Batman games. It took the world by storm. I remember even in the lead up, people thought, "Oh, here we go, another licensed game, whatever." And no one really knew Rocksteady before that, and then it just. That game took the world by storm. Yeah, it was like
it charged. It's like, whoa, this is something different. This is something special.
It clicked, right? It clicked with the fans, and that's one big thing that Crystal Dynamics needs to make sure that they get done with this game is that the gameplay has to click with all the fans, and if that doesn't, it's going to be another Anthem. Yeah, it's all that hype and builds up, and they get to it and start playing and go, and it falls off.
This man literally brought up Anthem himself. Jared, internet high five.
The healing process. The healing process.
It's getting there. I do have another superhero game. I do have Wolverine, the movie tie-in game.
Oh, you know what? That's
good. It was actually a pretty good one.
Mark of shame. I didn't.
No, but it was actually a pretty good one.
Okay.
They did some things that are pretty cool. I mean, like I think you've seen it where he's getting shot and chunks of them are flying off, and
I have seen gameplay.
Healing factors coming back in. I'm like, these are people who understand what a Wolverine game should be. It was bloody. It was gory. Yeah. So yeah, that was one. But yeah, Nick, you're right.
Who made that one? I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I can't remember who made it, but
look,
that was made by Raven Software. There you go. Back when Raven was allowed to work on things not named Call of Duty. Yep.
I think Blur Studio did the CGI on that.
You are 100% correct.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this. It takes something really special to make Marvel nerds not freak out about a game associated with Marvel. Like, you literally have some of the biggest superheroes because of, Endgame and Infinity. You have this huge Marvel arc where there's all these people that have never touched a comic book in their freaking life that love these characters because of these films. So excited to touch anything in relation to this property, and literally 98% of the people I know are like, like, that is incredible to me. Like, the fact that one of my biggest friends is a massive Marvel nerd, like t-shirts, watches, anything Marvel related. I'm like, hey man, so you gonna buy Marvel's Avengers so we can game share it on Xbox? He's like, I'm not buying that trash. And I'm like, he's like, I'm just going to play Warframe because it's just Warframe, but with superheroes. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but Warframe's actually good.
Yeah, well.
It just feels like we're going to do the tropes that are popular in these games that bring in more money and just throw these characters in because everyone seems to love them.
Like, what really blows me away with it is literally like I could think of a ton of studios if I was going to make a service game like this that I would do. Crystal Dynamics is not the studio for this. It's not because they're not talented. Crystal Dynamics is insanely talented. But to expect them to pull a live service Avengers game out of the hat as their first online focused game, okay, that's a bit of a reach. I don't find anything about it appealing. Like the whole idea of grinding for gear with Hulk and then you can't see it is so
nano machine, son.
like, ooh, Hulk's hand got slightly bigger. Ooh.
Sorry, I'm going to make that joke every time. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. Nanomachine jokes are A-okay in this podcast.
Going into that menu, I was like, oh, God.
Oh,
like the menus of it, I'm like, I can't do it.
Okay, here's the thing. Destiny has done a lot of things to the industry, good and bad. One bad thing I will never forgive them for is that stupid radial menu that's very slow on a controller, where it's like the circle, and you have to select different rectangle blocks. Like, stop it. No one does that. Just stop it.
Yeah, you know what? I remember watching the War Table where they showed off Thor's gameplay, and I was kind of like digging the gameplay. The look of it looked really cool, and then they opened up the like menu, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Like, purple, blue, gold.
As soon as I saw, I'm like, could you imagine? Could you imagine a Marvel Avengers movie where Hulk's like, "Ooh, hope if I smash this guy, I get purple fists." Thor's just looking at him like, what the fuck? Or like, we're going to have different levels of Mjolnir. Oh, okay. This is the ultra rare one. Oh.
Yeah. Odin's just chucking them things out of all left and right.
Like, you imagine you kill a boss, you get 6 different Mjolnirs of various rarities. Like, what the? Like, Look, I hate doing the comparison to God of I hate doing the comparison to God of War. But God of War did gear in a way that made sense for the characters, where you modified the actual piece of equipment. It wasn't like Kratos got a new freaking axe every 3 minutes.
Right.
You got jewels and modifications. That would make sense. Or and like with like some of the gear and stuff, like certain costumes or like skins give you different perks. I could see that, like, oh, you're playing as Spider-Man. You use this, you use the black suit, you get this new cool dance mode. Yeah. Okay. Like I could see stuff like that. That would make sense. But this whole like shoehorned in gear thing, plus the battle pass, plus there's just so much with this game where I'm just sitting there going, why? And like to think this game is what? It comes out on the 4th. It's literally like a week away. Who's talking about this besides us? Honestly, I don't see it doing well. I'm not going to say it's going to Anthem, but I will say it is one hell of an accomplishment if you make a Marvel Avengers game have an Anthem arc. That is an accomplishment in itself, because at least Anthem was a new IP. So there was some risk associated with it. The amount of risk in doing a Marvel's Avengers game is, well, yeah. So we're going to talk about, because we didn't have a show last week, we're going to talk a little bit about DC fandom, because we're talking about Marvel. So now we got to talk about DC. I'm a much bigger DC fan than I am a Marvel fan, but we got to talk about Rocksteady. We got to talk about Rocksteady first.
So we're going to go in reverse then.
Yeah, we're going in reverse because I remembered the Rocksteady thing first. And it wasn't in my notes. So Rocksteady, Suicide Squad, cinematic trailer, 2022. After waiting for 5 years and way too many teasers. Between them and WB, I cannot believe all this teasing went into the 2 games that we got. I cannot, just mind blowing. Since I've been writing about video games, I've been having to write up articles about WB and Rocksteady teasing these games. And this is what we get. That aside, the hype cycle was stupid. Suicide Squad, I'm kind of interested in, only because I consistently have 3 guys I can play with like rock his Suicide Squad game with you guys, that sounds kind of appealing. Like, that's interesting to me. I saw people compare it kind of to Sunset Overdrive, and I think that's kind of really cool. And I like that they kept the like Suicide Squad kind of zany action feel to it. Captain Boomerang's awesome. Fight me. I don't care. And the one upside to this is it can't be any worse than the movie.
Hey, I told you that.
Damn, don't you even put that evil right there.
I didn't say anything.
I told you that tease was more entertaining than that whole movie.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And it made more sense than that whole movie, actually. So
yes, it was. I'll say this really quickly. Really quickly. I did get Sunset Overdrive vibes. That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. A co-op game with the Suicide Squad makes sense. I would like to actually see, gameplay. How does the game actually function? How does it actually work? Like, who knows what it could end up actually looking like? And then that throws off my perception. Sounds like we're probably not going to see that anytime soon. So there's that. Point number 3, I appreciate their honesty. They could have just said it's in development. They said, it's 2022. Like, okay, fair enough. Like, you have a year in mind. I respect that. And you know what? Okay, I'll say this. I wish more developers would do that. I wish more developers were honest enough to not like say a year that they're not going to hit or just say, oh, it's in development. Like, no, it's okay to say you're aiming 2 or 3 years off. Just be open and honest about that. Like, that is a level of transparency I can respect.
Nintendo did it with Metroid Prime 4. We're going back to the drawing board. We'll see you sometime.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't really see that much, and I appreciate that. 5, I think the premise is lame. Sorry, I'm going to say, like, Evil Superman. We've done this. We've done Evil Superman. We've done the Injustice thing. I'm just over that, and I'm all for dark and gritty stuff. Don't get me wrong, especially where DC is concerned. I like my dark and gritty. Give me dark stuff. Superman is like the one exception where it's like, can we actually see some hopeful, optimistic Man of Steel, Superman stuff? Can we actually see him being a beacon of light? That's me, is what it is. Number 6 or 5, whatever. I can't keep track at this point. I think anyone who thinks this game can't play interestingly is not really paying attention. Rocksteady invented a genre. They literally invented a genre of games. Like, Rocksteady understands how to create compelling gameplay mechanics. I think they can do that in an interesting way, potentially. That's all I've got to say about it.
Can we just throw Superman out? He's the most boring character in terms of games.
Not when he's written interestingly.
No. Let me finish this. In comics, he is written in such an interesting way, but with him, I always sit there and I can always compare him to Captain America because in the movies, they managed to do such an amazing job with Captain America to make him appear so much more in-depth than just a Boy Scout. But nothing they have done with Superman in terms of games and movies has been compelling in any way. I'm like, look at this nerd. That's all I ever get from Superman. Or they're like, he's evil because we made him purple. And I'm like, okay.
Richard Donner, Superman 1 and 2, I like.
Okay, touche.
Also, any issues you have with Superman, like the newer one, are not Henry Cavill's fault.
No.
Presentation, he's got it. He's got the presentation.
He's like the perfect Superman.
Yeah. No.
I'm gonna lie.
Sometimes you can't blame the performer. Sometimes you can't polish a turd into gold if you don't have a good script.
And oddly enough, people don't care for the movie per se, but people really like Brandon Routh as Superman.
Yeah,
which is an interesting thing, right? Like,
yeah, because he shows up in like the WB shows, or there's like rumors that he's going to show up in one of the movies, and people are like, "Oh, I'm down. Sounds good to me." So it's very strange, and I think like Nick's saying, Superman Returns just became like the recut of a Richard Donner film, and it was just like it didn't really do anything. But yeah, you got to figure out. He's an OP character, but he is a beacon. And like Sam said, people have a hard time kind of like tapping into that and figuring that out, and that's, So I'm almost hoping that kind of what we saw is being like that teaser, and they're kind of like leading us into something, but maybe
some misdirection.
There's some misdirection. Like there's going to be something there because when I was talking to a buddy of mine, just like with the movie premise, it's like, how the hell is Captain Boomerang going to kill Superman?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. And I said, now the one interesting thing about the Suicide Squad movie is that was the premise, but that wasn't what Amanda Waller was really truly going for. She had an ulterior motive. It was just like that's what I'm saying, but that's not really what we're doing. Yeah, so I'm almost wondering, like, there's some bigger thing at play. And we got like that whole thing where Superman burns the guy and it's the evil thing, but maybe they're not necessarily trying to kill the Justice League. Maybe it's sort of like a thing of we have to go with whoever's infiltrated or doing whatever, something's going on, and we need this ragtag group of misfits to kind of figure it out. And I'm hoping that they kind of just lean into the fun and campiness and the goofiness and just be off the wall with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is funny because this takes place in, the edgelord Arkhamverse. But another game that looks like it should belong in the Arkhamverse does not take place in the Arkham universe.
Yeah.
So I just... Jared, your thoughts, because I have a really weed bait question that I got to ask. I want Jared to go first.
Oh, wait, before you do that, I'm sorry, before you do that, we talked about the Superman stuff. I have to give shout out to Superman the animated series. They got it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the DC animated movies, like Glorious War just did, the animated movies, that's a whole different story.
They almost always get it in the animated stuff. Like, I mean, there's been a couple of misses, but they're very few and far between.
Very few, yeah. So, continue.
Okay, so some quick thoughts. Boring as hell. The game does not interest me at all. I'm sorry, but it's just one of those games where I really don't care if it's Suicide Squad, whatever freaking game. I'm just like, superhero games are really just not interesting me at all. What will interest me is if you actually take a serious tone with the game. Now, with Suicide Squad in general, you don't have to. The serious tone is definitely not needed, but it's just one of those games where the co-op aspect makes sense, but at the same time, I always get this feeling where it would almost be kind of fun if it was more. I'm going to get some disagreement on this, but if the gameplay was more DMC type of combat, but at the same time, you're able to quick switch out the 4 characters as a single player game. So like a fighting game sort of thing, a tag team match kind of fighting game. I think that might be a little bit more of an interesting direction to go in and take a little bit more of a serious tone and not go over kind of cartoony, but go for more of like a actual more story-driven narrative with that DMC type of combat, with the quick switch kind of character option sort of thing, but also be like make it into like a 15-20 hour game, like kind of like God of War sort of thing type of length, or also level of visual sort of thing. I want them to step it up a little bit. It looks good, but I still want them to make it more not your previous gen, your typical co-op type of game that we always used to type of playing. I want them to advance that visual technology a little bit. It still looks the same to everything that is being made. I want them to advance that a little bit more. So I'm not interested with it. The movie itself, I'm sold. That's all I got to say. I am totally sold on the movie. I think it looks great. That cast lineup is awesome. But we'll move on.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the Suicide Squad movie, that's James Gunn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's going to be fire.
And that can't, I mean, whatever. Let's give up any pretense of being solely a gaming podcast. I keep telling you, we need to do a spinoff at some point. We got at least once every now and then we got to do a spinoff. But like that cast reveal with like everyone they've got in there, like that's gonna be good.
That's gonna be mayhem and anarchy, man.
So many of them are gonna die by the
way, and terribly.
Yes,
Those movies where you expect to see maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 on the high end. It's like, okay, it's still going. There's 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. When is this ending? How many characters? He is going all out. And that really has me excited because he's got some big brain shit going on right now, I think.
Yep. He didn't go for the B or the C listers either. He went straight to the W, Y, and V listers. There's some names coming in, And it's like, who? Who are
I'm
you?
like, who the hell is that?
It's Polka Dot Man.
This is my shit. It happens.
See, what I love about it is because like I've watched some of like James Gunn's early work, and what I absolutely love about the man is he'll sit there and go, "Oh, you like that character? That character right there, meat grinder." He doesn't give zero craps about if you're emotionally invested in a character, we'll kill him. This person, we'll kill him. Your grandma, we'll kill him. They don't like gives no craps. I think he's the perfect fit for the Suicide Squad movie, and I'm so excited about that. Mm-hmm. But I actually want to talk about Gotham Knights. The game, when I first saw it, I went, "Oh, why?" But after I sat on it for a bit, I'm kind of interested. And once they clarified some things too, I'm kind of quoting Podcast Unlocked here, but whenever I see damage numbers come above a character's head, I have to agree with Ryan McCaffrey. I kind of get sick to my stomach because that inherently means gear and levels and just all sorts of things that just make me go, but that game looks really interesting. I don't understand how this isn't part of the Arkhamverse, but the Suicide Squad game is part of Arkhamverse. Not sure how that happened, but Batman's dead. He's not. I guarantee you,
he's dead. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
He's dead.
And I'm sitting back watching people getting mad. I'm like, you really think?
No.
You really think?
You really think Warner Brothers is going to do a Suicide Squad game and a Gotham Knights game, and there's gonna be no Batman?
Especially when, like, have any of you actually read the Court of Owls story?
Yes.
Okay, like, so you're aware, like, a big part of that is, Bruce finding out just how far their influence goes, and maybe his parents were maybe not were involved in whatever, and like having to go deep undercover and finding stuff out like that, like. Yeah, no, he's faking his death. Like they're absolutely doing that. I will say, if you don't mind me sort of interjecting at this point, like I had to get over my initial disappointment of what I hoped this game was going to be. I was hoping for another straight up Batman game, but when I took a step back and said, "Okay, stop thinking about what you hoped it was. Look at what it actually is," I think there is legitimately a lot of promising stuff here. I know some people were put off by the damage numbers and all that. As a service title, come out and said that it does have co-op, but it's just optional 2-player co-op. You can play the game as just one of the Bat family if you want, or you can swap between them. And it's just an actual hard set story of you investigating the different villains and trying to defend Gotham City. And I like it. I think it looks good in that regard. Like I can see it being like, hey, I'm working on my Nightwing. Does anyone want to play as Batgirl and hop in with me? Like I can see it being fun. Mm-hmm. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And then I was, excuse me, with the rumor of the whole Court of Owls thing, and like you said, Sam, having read that, I was like, I didn't know if I wanted another Batman Arkham game, and I'm like, okay, if you're gonna flip it and do that, at least. If we're gonna do this, like let's start switching up some of the things because I was much like how I felt about God of War after playing Ascension. I was kind of like, I don't really want this anymore.
Sure,
I kind of wanted to grow now. Like, okay, we've done the thing where there's a reason the city is empty and there's all this,
right.
Let's start to like kind of switch it up. So when I saw this, I was like, I was in. I'm like, I get to kick people's asses, Nightwing. I'm in. And bringing in like these different character types, and like I laughed at the whole thing of people being mad about I don't get to play as Batman. That's bullshit. I'm like, let's just see where that goes, but don't hang your hat on the fact that Batman's not showing up.
Don't hang up your cow yet.
If
you want to be real edgy, you can be Jason Todd and all that, and you can be Robin, confirmed to be Tim Drake, not Damian Wayne, that little brat, that punk. I'm sorry, Damien is that snotty-nosed kid that you want to punch the crap out of. I'm sorry. He's like that. Batgirl looks really good.
Yeah.
Like her design, her costume looks really, really good.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say this. I know people were like, again, kind of like freaked out or whatever the case may be that it doesn't happen in the Arkham universe. But I'm like, this is a good thing, guys, for the fact that we can possibly get the Joker back in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, we've got Mr. Freeze back, obviously,
right? And we'll jump ahead like gamers do, and we'll speculate. But let's say they want to continue it further with story DLC or whatever the case may be. They could probably even get into some of the death of the family stuff.
Oh yeah,
death of the family stuff, you know.
Absolutely. So, they're already doing the Bat family. They can add on to the Bat family. Like, I mean, again, I'm honestly surprised they don't have Catwoman in there right away. Like, she would make perfect sense as an extension, you know.
Yeah.
With the whole dynamic there, or you know, like maybe being a villain, maybe being an ally, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I love the Arkham universe. I love its take on it. Yes, it's a very edgy take, but I love its take on the characters. But it's also very, very thoroughly played out at this point. That's kind of one of the issues, and that's one of the issues I have with the ending of Arkham Knight is there's not much you can do from here. I don't want to dive into my frustrations with that game, but I don't like. Yeah, you're pigeonholed at that point. So breaking away from that universe and doing a new Batman take, while yes, incorporating a lot, just quietly pulling over a lot of the stuff that Arkham got right, that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad thing at all.
I have an idea that some studio needs to do, and I'm looking at currently, I guess, one of Sam's favorite studios. We need a Batman that plays like Dishonored, or a Catwoman game in a Dishonored type of world.
Okay, give me Catwoman made by Arcane Games with the CGI of Halle Berry from 2000 that I'm in.
Whoa,
not the story. Not the story.
we were doing. But no, I agree with you. Like an immersive sim take on one of those characters could be very cool.
Absolutely.
Actually, you know what I want? I want a game where you play as Joker and you get to be a dick the whole game.
Oh,
I don't know how you'd make it work, but I just want to be a dick in the DC universe. I don't want to save people all the time. Screw you. I want to go, hey, let's grab that guy and tie him to a barrel of gasoline and see what happens. 2020 has taken a toll on my
society, huh?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? After playing Arkham Origins, I kind of had that same thought. And I was like, how? No one really takes that on to say, what if you got to just play as the villain and you're trying to get away from Batman? And you're doing things, and, you're just wreaking havoc. And...
No, it's survival horror game. You get to play Joker, and you have to run from Batman, who just relentlessly punches you in the face.
Like
for
he's
an hour.
coming at you like Mr. X, and breaking through the wall. Like,
I am justice.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I'd be completely down with that, man. Just
Yeah, no.
Idea.
Yeah, like that's the funny thing is it's so easy. Like I could sit there and like I love Jared's idea. I love that. Like an immersive sim game where you play as like Catwoman or something. Woo, okay, I can do that. I have no idea how you would go about making that very interesting though. I don't know how you could like there'd be so many like different like plot points and everything else. Like, and that's the thing with kind of like I find so interesting it's like superhero games in general. Because we've talked about Marvel's Avengers and we've talked about the DC games, is the thing is like I, as a guy who wasn't raised on comic books, like I started getting into superheroes because of like Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, the Raimi Spider-Man films. Like those were my introduction to like superheroes. And I'm really showing how young and uneducated I am in the field with that. And what I find so interesting, it doesn't matter what DC or Marvel does. There's a subsection of their fans that are like, fuck you, that's not how it goes.
It's because they don't really go for like the origin story or like the beginnings of the characters themselves, of the heroes. They always usually jump to a midpoint of the hero's life where they are already established as to who they are. You don't have the story that allows the character to go along and allows your player to discover who the character is while the character itself in the game is discovering who they are as a superhero sort of thing, right? You don't have that connection. So no one does that. No one does an origin story. Not a good one, at least.
Oh, fuck you. This is why I don't read the chat. I feel attacked. I just want you to know I stick dead rats in Jared's pillow too.
That's who's been doing it.
All
right. I see how it is.
But we had a cool discussion topic planned. We were going to have a guest on, but some things fell through. But I want to do this more midpoint of the year, but this is as good a point as any. As a lot of people know, we do a Game of the Year show where we talk about our 5 favorite games of the year. Well, what I thought would be interesting is before another rush of games comes out, because, prospectively, AC Valhalla, Cyberpunk, and all those games are going to come out in November, maybe. And before we get into that rush of games, I want to talk about the games that we have really enjoyed so far this year. Doesn't matter if we loop over. We'll try to keep it brief, to the point. So we're just going to go one by one in a circle or a square, depending if you're watching this on YouTube, it's a square. If you're watching in audio format, we'll pretend it's a circle. And we'll go one by one through our favorite games so far this year and a little bit of a reason why they're our favorite games, starting, of course, in 3, 2, and 1. So starting with the number 3 game, we will start with Gerido. Go.
Gerido. Gerido.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm going to start off with a safe pick, and you guys can probably already guess what it's going to be. That's Grounded. It's definitely one of my top games for this year. Absolutely.
You have taken to Grounded. You really have, and it's been encouraging to see. Honestly, like, it has been really good to see. Like, oh wow, okay, he's got a nice play setup, and then like next day it's like, it's the Playboy Palace. He's got it really rolling now. This dude made a working mechanical calculator.
No, legit. This dude, I'm sitting there playing Ghost of Tsushima, and Jared's making Ghost of Tsushima in Grounded, and I'm just like, what the hell, man? Like, damn.
A lot of time in the game so far. It's been enjoyable because I've been really looking for a good solid survival game for a very long time, and I haven't had one that's clicked or has been polished as soon as I can actually play it at the time it's launched. Ark, what the hell? That was horrible. A lot of other games, Conan Exile is horrible. Oh man, Rust, horrible. The Forest, horrible. Ugh, why can't you people just do this? So Obsidian came out with the first time in a AAA game. It's actually not really AAA. It's a AA. I don't even know what the hell you want to call it, but it's good. The setting's awesome. It's just like, I just posted a screenshot on Twitter where I'm up high in this bush and it's overlooking the whole backyard, and you can see literally the whole playing area, and it's so cool. And there's lots of little things I like about it. So we'll continue on before I rant.
Absolutely.
Go for it, man.
And Eric.
I have a confession. I haven't actually played any games this year. I've just been lying.
I know.
Podcasters don't play games, man.
Right.
But have you been talking about them? Have you been talking about the games that would get you to buy something? Because that's really what matters.
You talk about 50 games, but all you play is Call of Duty Warzone, right?
Yes, and I watched other people's gameplay. And I just go off of that.
Okay.
So from what you've seen so far this year, what's your number 3 pick, Eric?
My number 3 pick was surprising, and I love when this happens, when you get a game that just drops in your lap and you're like, was not expecting this. This is awesome. That's Carrion.
Good game.
Yep.
Good game.
A game that respected your time. Like I said, and I love the fact that it was like a Devolver Digital affair, and they were like, "Hey, and it's available right now. Go for it." And yeah, really good game. I highly recommend it. Again, we just talked about games don't let you be the villain, and that game was just like, "Go wreck shit, go." So yeah, and for as many Metroidvanias as we get, that do interesting things. They don't all do the same thing. They all take their little cues, but for the most part, they're kind of like, you move through and you do your thing. And this one's doing that too. But to take that kind of like perspective on it was really cool. So, yep, that's my number 3 pick.
Awesome, man. Sam.
I honestly could pick a couple of different games. It's okay. This one's going to sound a little surprising because I know I'm probably the most negative on its ending by comparison to a lot of other people, but it's still a wonderful game, well worth playing and forming your own opinion, actually playing it for yourself. And that is The Last of Us Part 2. controversial as all hell in every way, shape, and form. But, and I've said this before in our spoiler cast, you can't deny that Naughty Dog did not play it safe. They took a lot of risk, and they delivered in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, I think it did pay off. They did incredible things, and it really is part 2 to that story. Regardless of what you think of how it ends, and I have had some things to say about that, it is such a natural extension of that first game, and the performances that Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker do as Ellie and Joel are just heartbreaking. Like, they are some of the most moving performances I've ever heard in any medium, not just in games, but in any medium. So that's my third.
Nice. Well, this feels weird coming out of my mouth. So my number 3 pick is actually a game I just did a review on. This is actually my number 4, but my number 3 pick for my favorite game so far this year is embargoed right now, so I can't actually say anything. Review problems. But my third favorite game so far this year is Tell Me Why, which is the weirdest and most far-fetched thing, because I literally went from I'm not playing this game because it looks hella awkward to
you're welcome,
to a review code dropping in my lap from Jared and playing this game and actually having to sit down and mentally process how I thought about things in the world around me. This game literally made me rethink some of the ways how I interact with people and how what you can say you might not mean something in a certain way, but how it portrays to someone else and how things you say can really deeply affect somebody else, even though that person may not inherently mean them as something degrading or anything else. It's just a really impactful story. Once again, you can't play all the episodes yet, but I highly encourage people to go play the first episode. It's available on Game Pass on PC and Xbox, I believe. And give it a shot, even if you're not a fan of the Life is Strange games. I kind of went in going, I'm not a huge fan of Life is Strange. I'm not really expecting much. Same. And I was really blown away by the storytelling and how well they nailed a family dynamic about how, without getting into spoilers, basically is that, you know, when you're in a family, even if you're in an abusive family situation, there are good times littered in there, and trying to separate and unpack the good from the bad is a very hard and heart-wrenching emotional thing, and dealing with death and mixed in with that it's a really interesting experience in grief and loss, kind of similar in the way like The Last of Us Part 2 deals with, you know, loss and hatred and everything else. It's a real deep dive into your emotions. So with everything that was going on in my life, it might have hit differently with losing a friend recently and everything else. But just, I walked away from it really changed by the experience. And there's very few games where I can say that in an honest fashion. So that's my number 3 pick. 3. Jared, your number 2 pick.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That is a fantastic game. I had an opportunity to review it, but yeah, it's my number 2 pick for this year.
It's a good one.
Good one. Yeah.
I still need to play it.
Yeah, you
do. Eric.
So, I mean, are we allowed to double up here? Because
yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to be like, hey, someone else said that first, so screw your number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat with Sam. Number 2 would be The Last of Us Part 2 right now, because, yeah, it's for, you know, we always talk about like the games that kind of follow the template, and, you know, you kind of expect what you're going to get going into it. And I love the fact that it completely just turned that on the ear and said, nope, we're going to go this way. And like you said, it paid off for some people. Some people absolutely despise, but I was like, that's the beauty of it. It sparked conversation. It made people think. It pissed people off. Yeah. Good art does that.
That's true.
You know, so I enjoyed it. And then doing my second playthrough for the platinum. There were definitely things that I picked up on that I kind of missed on that first playthrough. Story beats and some of the things that were kind of going on, some of the things that were mentioned in certain parts of the game that you didn't really understand the weight of them, like conversations that were going on. But then playing through, you're like, oh my God, they were talking about that when this happened, like much later, you know? So yeah. So however it landed for people, like Sam said, I think it was just a really cool experiment in pushing the envelope and pushing buttons and setting out to kind of like, break the expectation of we're just going to go on another adventure with these characters. And it really played into the theme of The Last of Us. It doesn't necessarily just mean two characters. There's a whole world of people that are going through this thing, So yeah, that's my number 2.
Nice
stuff, man. Good stuff.
Sam.
My number 2.
Numero uno.
Who does number 2 work for?
Sorry. That's a good reference. That's a good one. I haven't heard that in a while. Okay, a little safer, but hella good. Quite literally, Doom Eternal. Just that game is playing an electric rock band from beginning to end. It's cathartic. It was like, you know what? We're doing away with the pretense. Here's what the first game did right. We're going to do 100 times that. It gets absolutely nutty. The Marauders can go die in a fire, but I love it. It's frenetic. You have to balance all the different guns. You have to rapidly use your chainsaw to get ammo back and the flamethrower for armor and using your freeze bombs. I love it. I love that game. Give me more of it. Give me more of it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. My numero uno is, unfortunately, I am super falling in line with everybody else, apparently. My number 2 is The Last of Us Part 2. Fantastic game, beautiful game. And I really like the fact that they kind of just went, oh, so this is what fans want from us. Okay, let me just get this golf club right here. Line that up right there and and just completely send it into a different direction. Now, I don't necessarily agree with some of the directions they went with it. I will applaud them for doing the one thing I think many developers that get entrenched in making sequels do not do, and that is take risks. They threw everything out the window and went, this is what we're doing, and I admire that, and it had some of the most beautiful musical moments that I've seen portrayed in a video game. And there was a specific part, which I will not mention, that made me cry like a small child. And that's all it takes. So yeah, imagine this face crying, but not in pain, but in sadness.
Ugly crying. Snot bubbles in the whole night.
Yeah, snot bubbles and all. I look like that kid from Wind Waker. Was it Wind Waker, the kid with the snot?
Yeah, just that one.
Yeah. Like, the booger that went down to his ankle. Now, Jared, number 1 for you so far this year. Your game of the year for this year so far. Because we know Anthem 2.0 hasn't come out yet.
Oh, shut up. Well, thankfully, I guess I went backwards for you guys because my number 1's actually grounded right now for this year. So I'll do my number 3 instead.
First. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Hey, I gotta switch it up. You guys gotta do the same things, and I know I could be the crazy one. Keep things spicy.
All right. What is your third favorite for the year?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
Like, that's a damn solid title, especially by Sucker Punch. Not gonna lie, and knowing that they got all that credit not the credit, but I guess I would say credit, but praise by people who live in Japan and Japanese historical aspects and whatnot, and the actors who are Japanese, they all were like, man, this is a damn good game. And sometimes they were like, I didn't even know this about my own history or culture. And it's really impressive to where a Western studio created a AAA game that is set over in the East in Japan historically in a time that is very rarely touched upon or even talked about, because they always talk about Genghis Khan and Mongols and stuff like that, but they don't talk about the Mongol invasion of Japan. That only happened actually during 2 occasions in history. But in order for a Western developer to impress people over in the East about a story that happened in the East historically to be as accurate as it is impressive. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I gotta finish that game.
Yeah, man, you are horrible at those games.
Am I the only one who's actually finished that here besides
No, I finished the story. I'm doing the platinum cleanup now.
Okay. All right.
I finally finished the story this morning, and yeah, that was a good ending.
Yeah. The story definitely picks up in the second half, I would say. Like that's when things actually
absolutely.
Really go. But good pick, Jared. Good pick.
Okay. So Eric, your numero uno pick.
Yeah, this one's tough, man, because there are a few that I could slot in this like position, man. It's like, but if I'm gonna really think, oh man, I feel like I'm betraying one or the other by doing this. So I'd probably throw an honorable mention out on Twitter or something like that. But I think my number one right now is, even with its like few issues that I ran into, is still Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Because that game's just beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, aside from some of the glitches, aside of some of the issues, just like platforming control, like the character control, the addition of the weapons, all of the weapons made sense.
Yep.
And felt the way they should have felt for what you were doing with them. And again, just telling a story in a game that can still rip at your heart without an actual word being uttered that you understand.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's just like
it made me cry at least twice in that game. Yeah. It's like, what? This is ugly crying right here.
Yeah, man. It was just, and again, when it was over, it was one of those things of like, I'm okay wherever you guys decide to go. If this is it, if this is as far as we're gonna go, hats off. You did a beautiful send off. If we're gonna go back, I'm there. But yeah, that game's awesome, man.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice, man.
My other choice would have been Doom Eternal, because I told Nick I'm gonna stand with him on Doom Eternal all year.
Yeah,
the rest of the year.
I was gonna pick Doom Eternal for like my third pick or something like that. And I was like, these guys keep saying Doom Eternal. Whatever. I can't. There's too many good games that have actually come out to pick a top three. It's hard.
Yeah, I had to do some serious counting. Like I'm like. Destroy All Humans remaster would be in my list, but I'm like, I'm not putting a remaster in my top three. Though that game was bloody fun.
See, that's kind of where I was with Resident Evil 3. I mean, even I know people were kind of hard on it and it's short or whatever, but I had fun with it.
I did too. I think it's not in my top three, like by any means, but like I think it's a darn good game. It knew what it was doing. It made smart changes. It's a fantastic survival horror game.
Yeah, we'll have a conversation later about that game. I actually had some questions for you guys about that. We'll talk about it later. Sam, your number one game for this year?
Yeah, I'm with Eric. It's Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Just that, you know what it is, I think, as well? Like, it's not just that it carries on from Blind Forest and the platforming is somehow even better. Or, the combat is even better because of all the weapons and how they work and how they interact with the environment and so good. Or how the game is somehow even better looking, to the point where I say it's one of the best looking games of all time. Yeah. Personally, just how gorgeous it is and how detailed the animations are. The swap to 3D, it was worth it, even with the performance hit and the optimization they've had to do. I'm looking forward to playing it again at 120 FPS. Definitely like that. It's going to be one of the first ones I go back and check out, see how smooth it plays. But like above all, because it's like the word Ori in Hebrew literally means my light. And like that game is a shining light, even with how sad and tear jerking it is in this year and how depressing this year has been. That game just feels... Lightning is going to strike me down, but I almost want to say holy. Like, it almost feels special. It almost feels beautiful. It's like, this is beauty. This is raw art captured and encapsulated somehow. And it's just, every time I pick up the controller and I play that game, I feel tension melt off of my shoulders in a way that almost no other game does. Which is funny because like it is a tense game. It's a very difficult game with the escape sequences and all, but just that game has touched me in a way very few others have.
Yeah. and the boss fights are
yeah,
really great.
Fantastic.
Lord, yeah, they just scale of how they took everything in and just ramped it up. Or like when this is in the trailer, so I'm not giving it away, but like when you're hiding from Shriek in the desert, like you're cowering behind the rocks and just you feel the thud of every impact as that thing is coming for you. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I want to play it again now, honestly, just after talking about it, because it's really that wonderful of a game. There's very few games that you can tell or you can just pick up and play and be like, wow, there's so much raw emotion that's been put into this game that the developers have tried so hard to get right, and they did do that. They got the emotions right for what they want to get the player to feel, and it's wonderful.
Well, my number one pick gives me a completely opposite emotion to what you guys just described, because I was not crying from my eyes. Doom Eternal is my number one pick for my favorite game this year.
Are you sure they weren't tears of joy?
No, there's two from something else, but it's YouTube. I don't want to be demonetized.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Absolutely incorrigible.
I swore Nick was going to say Baldur's Gate announcement.
I was prepping for you. It's not here yet.
Baldur's Gate 3 announcement is my number one game.
I can totally see that. That's great.
So I have to say, it's going to be weird because if Baldur's Gate 3 releases and it does become my game of the year for this year, that means my game of the year will be a Google Stadia game. For
my God. Karma.
But no, Doom Eternal.
Nick, no, wait, Nick. You can just say, I go where the games are, man. That's it.
Oh, man.
He knows what the game is. I
go where the game.
Game. I need Phil Spencer to cut that check to get on Xbox first, but no, Phil Harrison was like, hey, that Baldur's Gate game looks great. And I'm like, but yeah, no, Doom Eternal, it's FPS porn. It set the standard for FPS going forward. Every other FPS feels slow. Somehow Doom Eternal makes Doom 2016 feel slow and unaction-filled. I went back and tried to play 2016 after playing Eternal, and I'm like, man, this game's slow. And then I had to sit there for a minute and go, wait, what? The action's amazing. The actual cohesive and interesting story was cool. Still can't get over the fact they're like, hey, I want to get to Mars. Well, you can blow a hole in Mars. You can make a portal by blowing a hole in Mars with BFG. All right, let's go do that then. Well, we need to shoot you. Okay. Shoot me. Okay. Like, the Doom guy is the epitome of what Master Chief was to me as a kid. He's this impenetrable, badass pile of armor that just is tired of everyone's shit. And I just love Doom will always hold a place in my heart. Doom 1, Doom 2, the ugly bastard stepchild that is Doom 3, and Doom Eternal and Doom 2016. It's so amazing to see this franchise come back in such a great way and to watch games like Wolfenstein and Doom have completely new life to a whole different generation of people. Because there's people that are my age, they're like, oh, have you ever played Doom? I'm like, yeah, 1993, baby. And they're like, no, Eternal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that one's good too. But it's just really great to see some of my favorite franchises from when I was like 4 or 5 years old still be just as impactful and amazing as they are now, 22 years later, as I'm 27 years old. As everyone's like, oh, that explains so much why he doesn't understand games. But no, yeah, Doom Eternal is my favorite game this year. I really don't see anything knocking it off either. Maybe Watch Dogs Legion, maybe, because for some reason I find that game irresistible to me, and I don't understand why I'm so interested in that game. But yeah, that's the one. I do need if anyone from Ubisoft is listening, I need co-op and Watch Dogs Legion so me and Jared can start Granny Gang. But come on,
you know, You know what's great about Eternal and Doom guy also? Like you said, all the ridiculous stuff they put him in, situations they put him in, like there's nothing he can't do in that regard. And the fact that he has a man cave with a collectibles wall of like figurines and toys and stuff, it's like,
you know what? I remember pre-Doom Eternal launching, and there was all these like the Doom community is one of the like weirdest. Well, I wouldn't say the weirdest, one of the weirder game communities, and they don't want it to change from 1993, but don't you dare release it different than 1993. It's kind of like Halo with sprinting, except as a whole community. But everyone's like, "Oh man, I hope in the mothership you don't have to." I don't have to sit there and watch Doom Guy like chill around or like see how he lives because that'd be stupid. And I'm like, man, I'm living for this. This dude's got a guitar.
Yeah.
He's got music. This dude is self-centered enough. He's got his own 2016 game soundtrack on his desk.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm down for it, man. I'm down for them.
Yeah, and like the whole fact of if the game's gonna make me collect collectibles, put them somewhere. Yeah. And that was the cool part of it. It was like, and using like the tokens, you could unlock, upgrades and everything else. Or you can do what I did and not buy any of the upgrades and go straight for the 1993 Classics Doom skin suit. Immediately went for that. Did not buy upgrades, immediately went for that.
That was a pretty awesome suit, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, and the only badass that could pull off the Doomicorn uniform and make it look awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you gotta give those guys props, man. Like they just leaned into it, like just ramp it up. It's just fun. It's just a game, a video game.
Did anyone see the
knows what it's doing?
Yeah.
Did anyone see the Twitch Prime drop of the like redneck Doom Eric?
Yeah,
I got it. So
good.
Yeah.
And once again, I will say this till the end of time. If you want to talk about studios that always deliver excellence, look at id Software.
Yeah.
They know what they do and they do it goddamn well. And that id Tech engine is more games need to use that. And just all of it. So that's the show. I'm going to stop talking about Doom Eternal or else the show will never end. So we will do outros and where you can find the various great people on this show. So Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert, Tolbert, and you can find what I write on Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore.
Absolutely. And Jared, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X. You can also find me at lordsofgaming.net for all my fun writing stuff.
Absolutely. And Eric, where can people find you?
You can find me Twitter, EC Jackson with an X, and when I'm not around there, you can find me on Brad Podcast Wednesday nights at 9:00.
Absolutely. I'm Nicholas Downey. You can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. Send me all your funny memes. And don't forget, you can check out all my work at lordsofgaming.net. I've got a review on Monday. There's a video preview for Iron Harvest that I finished last night at 3 a.m. and it's live now. So if you guys want to check that out, you can do that. And much more stuff coming in the coming month and lots of stuff to talk about. So hope to see you guys in the next episode. Appreciate all our subscribers. We are officially 11 subscribers away from 100 because one person unsubscribed because they're a dick. And we look forward to rocking with you guys next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll see you guys next week, and we hope you have a safe and productive week.